Good afternoon, everybody. Adele Croft from Food Focus. Welcome, everybody, to today's webinar with the SASDT. Welcome, Jody, to you as well. It's fine. You can put your camera on. It's such a pleasure working with the SASDT. This is the second presentation that we are hosting with the SASDT, and it's always a privilege that you choose us as your partners in presenting your webinars. So Jody, thank you, welcome, and I'm handing over to you.
Thank you so much, Adele, for that introduction. Then just on behalf of the SASDT Western Cape Division, I would like to welcome everybody to our webinar this afternoon. I would also like you to browse our SASDT website for more information, as well as our social media platforms, which is LinkedIn, as well as Facebook, for more information and to keep up to date. Then, not forgetting our wonderful sponsors, a big thank you goes out to our generous sponsors who is making this event and also our future events possible by their donations. And our sponsors for the events are AcePack, Formatic, Greytech, Main, Allchem, Polyoak Packaging, Sig Combi Block, as well as Cinecor. And now, just to introduce your presenter for today, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our presenter, Marissa Foster, who will be digging into the minds of our dairy consumers. Marissa is one of our newly appointed management team members of the South African Society of Dairy Technology, and we are very, very pleased and grateful to have her as part of the team. So just a little bit of background on Marissa's side. So after graduating with a BSc degree in food science from the University of Stellenbosch, Marissa started her career as a product developer at a raw material supplier. She then moved to quality management and back to technical development for the largest food retailer in Africa. Marissa is currently the Technical Development Manager for the Shoprite Checkers Group. She's responsible for developing and growing the 295 private label brands for the Shoprite Group of companies. Marissa is very passionate about business as well as product development. And even though she is responsible for an extensive range of products, dairy has been her passion for many years. So understanding and considering the trends and consumer behavior of utmost importance for success in this challenging and very dynamic industry. And then on that note, over to you, Marissa, and I'm looking forward to hear your point of view on this subject matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jody, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to present to you my findings in the industry. So this topic where we're going to begin is, before jumping into development or starting a business strategy or deciding on a business strategy, it is important to understand what consumers think and how they behave. In this webinar, we will be digging into the consumer behavioral trends and insights to try and understand how consumers think and make decisions. So before we start, I just want to set aside the disclaimer for the SASDT to just let you guys know that all attendees will need to ensure that we do not disclose any intellectual property or trade secrets, and anyone attending this presentation acknowledges their compliance herewith. So what will be covered in this presentation? We will start off by digging into how big the dairy industry is in South Africa, and then we will go into what are consumers buying and why they are buying it, and then we will go into a little bit more detail in UHT milk versus fresh milk. We will then go into yogurt versus yogurt snacks. Then we will briefly touch on brand loyalty, and then we will go into local and global trends and what can be expected going forward. The total dairy market of South Africa is currently worth more than 38 billion rand. This value includes all the major retailers, but unfortunately not the smaller informal markets. So that means 38 billion at least. In this graph, we can see that shelf-stable milk contributes to 21% of this market. The second largest in this category, is the fixed waste cheeses at 17%, flavored yogurts at 12%, dairy beverages at 12%, and then fresh milk at 10%. So these are the categories that I would like to focus on in this presentation, so that we cover the largest part of the dairy industry. This I just put in here to explain the total beverage market in South Africa. So this is technically all beverages, including carbonated soft drinks. In this, the total beverage market is more than 42.5 billion rand worth in South Africa, of which the dairy beverages contributes 11%, which is quite a big amount. So milk consumption rose during lockdown, but people are now drinking less milk due to the rise in price. According to Sampro, the weakening of the consumer demand can fundamentally be linked to increased of prices and the wide range of products. I have a slightly different view about this and will be discussed a bit later. So basically they're saying the cost of all dairy products increase and the reason for decrease in consumption, but we will be digging into that a bit further. Looking at UHT milk versus fresh milk, we want to look at what are consumers buying and why are they buying it. We are all aware that the pandemic changed the customer behavior, but how did it change and why did it change? So the most behavioral change is the frequency of store visits, the basket size, and the basket content. So during the pandemic, the frequency of store visits declined and the basket size increased. As lockdown restrictions were lifted or reduced, we were seeing that there was increased in store visits and the basket size reduced again. But let's look at how this behavior changed and where we can detail focus into this. So who buys in this category? The decision of buying UHT milk or fresh milk is not based on gender or age. However, millennials and Generation X are the generations that cover the largest part of this market. So there's been a growth in a few products in the dairy industry. So a lot of people started buying full cream milk UHT, mass products, and low-fat UHT milk. So in the total category, these items increased in sales. And the reason behind it, we will discuss in detail. So for UHT milk, it mainly is due to increased consumption, but 3.4% thereof is due to switching. I'll explain to you exactly what that means. So in mass, it was mainly due to increase in consumption, and low-fat milk growth is mainly due to increase in consumption, but 16.6% due to switching. So the switching is where the customer used to buy something else, but now buying into this market. So where did the growth come from? Mostly from fresh full cream milk. So the consumers used to buy low-fat full cream milk. We're now buying into UHT full cream milk. Same for full cream, low-fat fresh and low-fat full cream. Now buying into full cream UHT, but there was also some movement from low-fat UHT to full cream UHT. But what is the reasons for this? Since the store visits decreased, the consumer had to make the choice of buying longer shelf life products and the convenience of buying, going to the store once a week or once every second week. So in that sense, the consumer had to make the choice of taking home rather UHT milk than fresh milk. There's also been a switch from low-fat milk to full cream milk, and the reason behind this is the regulation change causing the consumer to buy into the full cream market. As you all are aware, the regulation in November 2019 changed the 3 fat categories into 5 fat categories. It took a while for the consumer to understand or to realize this and make the change, even though they don't necessarily know why they made the change. Looking at the low-fat UHT milk switch, what were the consumers buying before they made the decision, and why did they switch? So for the switching gains from to UHT low-fat milk came from fresh mass, fresh full cream milk, and fresh low-fat milk. And the reason therefore is the frequency of store visits, convenience, and availability. So in conclusion, the consumer moved mostly from fresh dairy products to UHT dairy products. And the reasons for this is the frequency of store visits and the convenience of shelf life. So even though the restrictions have been lifted and the store visits have increased, there's still no indication that the market has recovered from COVID. Looking at your yogurt and your yogurt snack category, what are the consumers buying and why are they buying it? So we are all aware of the economic pressure to be able to supply the consumer with affordable yogurt offerings. For this reason, the market availability of dairy snacks has increased significantly. So who is buying in this category and why? The younger generation tends to buy more into the yogurt category than the older generations. So it is seen that the millennials are more nutrient seekers and they are more buying into the yogurt market, where Generation X and the baby boomers buy into the yogurt snack category. So why are the younger generation more interested in the yogurt category, but the older generations in the snack category? As I mentioned before, the millennials are nutrition seekers and they are willing to pay more for higher nutrient products and strive to buy clean label products. I also believe that customer education could be the reason for Generation X and baby boomers to buy into the snack category, and also availability. So when we look at the growth, smooth and plain yogurt showed the highest growth out of the three, then fruited yogurt, and then snack yogurt market as well. But from the growth of the plain and smooth yogurt, it was mainly due to increase in consumption, but 9% of the increase came from switching. Looking at the snack, less is due to increase in consumption, but 41% due to switching. So what were the consumers buying before they made the decision to switch, and why did they switch? So before switching to snack yogurts, the consumers were buying fruited yogurt, smooth plain yogurt, and kids yogurts. The reason for switching to snacks is the availability. As I said, the market is flooded at the moment, the price benefit, and the customer is not necessarily educated as to what the difference is. Now we're covering brand loyalty. So what we've done is we've looked at whether customers are loyal to your brand. Customer loyalty varies from 0.8% to 8% at the moment. That means that the highest or most loyal customer is at 8%. That means 8% of people that are currently buying your product is only buying your product. So 0.8% to 8% actually means that the customers in the dairy industry is not very brand loyal. They'll make the switch on buying your brand or a different brand due to availability, price, or whatever is on special that day. So what are the current trends? And locally and globally, we can look at what is happening in the market. This is unfortunately something people in the dairy industry do not want to hear, but it's all up in our faces, and we kind of need to acknowledge this, that dairy alternatives is booming at the moment. There has been a rising focus in plant-based and vegan offerings, and the UHT offerings has recorded a bigger share of launch activity, which corresponds with the trend we saw earlier, is that customers are interested in convenient on-the-go products and that are shelf-stable. Of these vegan offerings or plant-based offerings, oat is on fire. Oat has been basically the base of every plant-based product at the moment, and it is showed the highest growth and surpassed soya, becoming the second milk alternative, which still trails almond milk. Oat is also branching into different products, not just milk. So we've seen in the market globally that the oat is moving into ice cream products and other dairy alternative products, not only the milk. So here we can just see the graph of launches globally, or this is in Europe, to see the amount of launches in the different alternatives, where you can see oat is the highest of all of the other alternatives, almond second, rice third. Then looking at other trends, health focus on health. Since the pandemic, there's been a massive focus on health products. The consumer is more aware of overall health and looking for healthier alternatives. Products that are lactose-free, for example, and no added sugar. The consumer is seeking diet-friendly options. Then we're looking at better for you products. The consumer is seeking better for you products, and this is not necessarily focused on personal health, but also environmental health. Producers seek to improve the ecological credentials and reduce their carbon footprint. Positive nutritional claims is also on an increase, such as added proteins or vitamins and minerals in yogurt products to meet this, the specific dietary needs for the consumer. Then we're looking at immune support. So the pandemic has put a lot of focus on this. The consumers are even more health conscious, and preventative health has become a bigger priority to the consumer. Vitamin-based product recorded a rise amongst dairy drink launches in North America. So all the fortified products, people know vitamins better now. They know exactly what they need to take in for preventative health. Healthy snacking stays on top of mind. Consumers, this is a bit more decreased, but consumers used to buy products to treat themselves at home during the pandemic. So they're buying healthy, they wanted to make healthy snacks at home, which is not necessarily available currently on the go products, which they are still seeking. So this is maybe an opportunity. So digestive health claims are still trending. People are very aware of gut health and digestive health. So as you can see that there's been a lot of focus on low carb, GMO-free products, low sugar, and digestive claims. So what can we expect going forward? For the future, localization is a big drive. We all are aware about the import issues that we have and availability of certain raw materials. So trying to localize things are a massive trend. We are also looking at affordable nutrition, healthy snacking and healthy snacking trend to continue, and functional foods as mentioned, dairy alternatives, going into milks, yogurt, snacks and ice creams. Dairy blended with dairy alternative options, that is very interesting. Something that we can look out for going forward. Immune support as mentioned, and sustainability claims. Thank you guys. If you've got any questions, please let me know.
Jody, I think it's now over to you. If I see that currently there's no questions from the delegates, so please, I know that Jody has got a few questions that she's going to ask Marisa. So please, guys, if you can drop your questions into the question bar, we can make sure to get Marisa to answer. Over to you, Jody.
Thank you very much, Adele. And yes, indeed, I have a few questions that were sent through to me on my mobile. So, Marisa, the first question, what is the most exciting product category for you at the moment that you see as a trend?
That I see as a trend is also something that you don't want to know, is the dairy alternatives. Actually, it's very exciting what people are using as dairy alternatives at the moment. I'm very excited to see the blend of dairy and dairy alternatives going forward. I think that is going to be very exciting. We have seen some of it globally, or not in South Africa, and it's something that I look forward to seeing in our market.
Okay. Another question. Do you think there is a communication gap between retailers and producers with regards to making products that are in demand or will be in demand soon? And if so, how do you think this can be improved?
Yes, there's definitely, at the moment, there is a gap. It's something that we are working very hard to close. I think it is just about understanding. It's not necessarily about not wanting the same thing. I think there is a massive gap, and I think ways of communication, I think that technical people need to talk to technical people, and salespeople and business people need to talk to one another. So I think there is sometimes a gap in communication when someone talks business and someone talks technical, and then we miss each other in that sense. So definitely something that we can work on. Yes.
Yeah,
I'll answer your
great.
question. I don't think so.
Yeah, thank you. And I see we are actually getting a lot of questions streaming in. So from the audience, you briefly skipped over a sentence that clean label is decreasing in the sector. Could you explain some more, please?
Let me just get back to that one quickly. That was a trend that was found in a certain country. So that is not something that is globally or currently in South Africa. That is a trend that is just in a certain country. Perhaps I didn't put that in there. I will just go check that for you guys and come back to you on which country that exactly was.
Okay, so this is just an isolated sort of incident or case.
Yes, it's an isolated case in a certain country.
Okay. Then next question, how aware are local consumers about lactose intolerance?
I think the awareness increased. A lot of people know what it's about. Some people buy it perhaps because they don't have the issue, but they think that it's healthier alternative to buy something that's lactose free. So I think people are aware. It's become a bigger trend because it's more available to consumers. It didn't used to be so available. The availability wasn't that high.
Yeah, that's true. Then with sustainability claims as a future trend, what is the potential of on-pack communication advising consumers that 80% of, say, for example, the HDPE milk bottles are recycled in South Africa?
I think our packaging team or a packaging specialist would be more equipped to answer this question. Unfortunately, I won't be able to answer that question for you.
No problem. Craig, we will send you feedback on this one if you require anything further. Then one from another delegate. Hi, Marisa, thank you for your presentation. So dairy blends, as you mentioned, is an upcoming trend. What do you feel the customer perceives as the purpose of a dairy blend? Why are they buying into that category? And what do you think is necessary to consider when looking to develop this category?
Are you referring to the dairy blend to alternative? I understand it correctly, that dairy blend.
I think this is purely dairy blends and not mixed in with alternatives because that wasn't mentioned yet.
I'm not sure about that question. So I mentioned that the dairy products be blended with dairy alternative products and call that a dairy blend. As you know, there are very few different perceptions of a dairy blend. So I just want to make sure that I understand the question correctly. But in that sense, the reason why I said that is flexitarians people are looking for healthier alternatives but aren't necessarily vegan. So looking at a blend would be very attractive for someone that wants to live healthier but doesn't want to give up dairy, if I'm answering that one correctly.
Okay, thank you very much for that. That was a lengthy question.
You can ask it again if I didn't answer it correctly. Maybe I skipped.
Yeah, no, we can park it for now, and we can come back to that if time allows. But if I just go through some of the other questions that we do have. Now the question came in: do the majority of South African consumers prefer fermented dairy products?
I have no idea, being truly honest with you.
Okay. Let me just quickly see. Oh, thank you everybody for all the questions that are coming in. I can barely keep up.
We can also answer some of them for you afterwards. If it's too
yes, exactly. Somebody asked, can you give us an example of the combined dairy and plant-based product?
As in what products are blended? So a dairy and oat milk, is that examples of what's on the market? I don't have examples that I can show you, but a product that's blended with milk and oat, or milk and rice, or milk and potato milk, perhaps.
Okay, thank you. Let me just go to these ones that I have. What are the examples of major moves within product categories that you're observing? For example, from cheese to processed cheese.
So I've discussed the two major moves that are that we've seen from fresh to UHT, which haven't recovered since, and also to snacking. That was two big moves, and the reason for the snacking, as I mentioned, was availability and the customer education. From cheese to processed cheese, I believe there will be a big move. The consumption of cheese is reduced significantly due to price increases. So I think that is more the product that drew the total category down in the SunPro data, or definitely contributed to that a lot. People aren't buying cheese anymore. It is seen as a luxury and not a necessity, and it became extremely expensive. So the move to processed cheese, there is a move, but there's also a reduction completely.
Okay, wow, interesting. Let me just quickly see. It is said that we eat with our eyes. What could the opportunity be for dairy products that usually separate? For example, mass that goes into clear packaging, given solid white and ivory. Well, the solid white might be recyclable, but those that are not recyclable.
Sorry, say again.
Sorry. It is said that we eat with our eyes. What could the opportunity be for dairy products that usually separate on shelf? For example, the mass that sometimes separates, that go into a clear packaging.
I believe they're talking towards changing the packaging and then seeing through, because currently mass is packed in that yellow packaging, and that's not sustainable. Yes, this is something that we might need to talk to regulatory bodies about. Anatu was allowed in mass previously. It's no longer allowed, which I thought could be an option to add to it, to give the product the color and not the bottle the color. But that unfortunately currently is still not allowed, and it's a regulation issue at the moment.
Yeah. Okay, let's step off from that. Now the question that came in: do you believe the market and consumers are ready for lactose-free pizza, looking at the market trends?
Pizza?
Yes.
As in,
I assume, yeah, I assume he refers to the cheese that sort of goes, if I understand it correctly, Tabo.
I believe it would be a nice claim to put on there, but the consumer would be confused, as I'm not a consumer as well now, and I'm also a bit confused. Yeah, maybe that's a good idea. You could just put the lactose-free cheese on the pizza, right? Is that what you're saying? Because there's no other dairy in the pizza that I'm aware of.
Yes, that's why I also think that is referring to maybe the cheese that goes onto the pizza. All right. Another question. Plant hybrids, milk and oat, or milk and cereal makes sense as we consume these products together in any case. So would this be a good way to look at on-the-go snacks?
Yes. There is a very big launch. I think it was, I don't know if I'm allowed to call brands. Jody, please guide me. I've seen an on-the-go breakfast snack that was launched recently, which is also cereal based and dairy based, and I think that is going to do very well. People want to have the healthy snacking, as I mentioned, which they could do at home while they were at home, and it started a trend there. And it's not necessarily available on retail shelf at the moment, but I saw a few launches on that, so I think that will do very well.
I just need to read this comment. Near, cheese is low in lactose. So that's just a comment from Jean-Dre that came through. Thanks for that, Jean-Dre.
Sorry, I missed
this. No, that's just a comment. It's okay. Then I think this is the last question we're heading towards. Butter is becoming expensive by the day. What is the reason for that? And what is a healthier alternative to that?
So we all know butterfat is expensive, and as the milk price increase, that will increase as well, because it's only churned cream that will be the reason why it's so expensive. Healthier alternative, I can't comment on that. There's a lot of different opinions about the health perception of certain fats and the change over to alternatives. So in my opinion, I'm not going to comment on the health benefit of a different alternative. But the only reason of butter increasing so much in price is because the milk price increase, the input, feed input, and all the input costs of running a dairy has increased the milk price, and only taking off the fat, the 3.5, 3.8% that you get in a liter to make butter is the reason for the high butter price.
Okay. I see there are still a few questions, but I think we can park that for now. And the questions that we didn't get to answer, we will definitely send feedback to all of you in that regard. Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely, Jody, Marisa, of a lot of questions coming in and clarity. You know, if we look at the message that Jean-Dre sent about lactose, I see Christine is also commenting to say that there's no healthy alternative to butter. The fats in dairy do not increase the risk of heart disease. So to the audience, for all the questions that you've asked, I'm sure of it, Jody will sit with her team and will get the answers. And most probably there's another webinar with another guest speaker that will provide you with these answers. Just to let you know that the recording will be available on the Food Focus website, as well as on the SASDT website. And please utilize, if any questions come up for you after, or if you look at the recording again, please make sure to send it through to us, and we will make sure that it gets through to Jody. Marisa, thank you so much for your presentation. I really think that it's a lot of food for thought that you've provided the delegates with, and Jody, for the opportunity for us to work with you again and giving the audience, you know, answers and also making them think about what the consumers really want. So thank you everybody for joining us. Jody, to you and to Marisa, a lovely afternoon until we meet again with the next webinar. Have a good afternoon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody.